What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Soul of the Streets. Today, we have the beautiful Miss Kori Withers, who will also be, her mom, Marsha Withers, will be with us at some point during the interview, God willing. But Kori is here right now. Welcome to the Soul of the Streets, Kori.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, Soul. Hello, Streets.
Yeah, we are outside. You are very busy this weekend. You have an incredible weekend promoting the new book, Grandma's Hands. How has the whole experience been for you?
You know what? It's been such a blessing because of the stories people are sharing with us. When you say grandma and somebody gets an occasion to talk about their family, when you don't get to do that at work, you don't get to do that out with your friends, talking about the older generation and what it was like for you as a kid. And when you remember about it, it's just not that popular of a thing to do, but it
Right.
is so important and people love to do it. So
Especially in our community, it's grandmas mean so much to our community. To the world, period, but to our community, because a lot of grandmoms have helped raise a lot of us. So it's definitely a needed conversation. And who else better to have the conversation than with the daughter of the man who wrote Grandma's Hands? I mean, it doesn't get no more authentic than that. So, thank you for sharing this time with us here on the Soul Streets.
yeah, Dad would say sometimes we'd just be sitting there watching TV and he'd just look over at me and pause, the TV, and he'd say, I probably got one of the most famous grandmothers in the world. And then he would just put the TV back on and keep going. Like it was just something that I think was important to him, that he shined a light on her as an individual, but also that generation, because that generation is documented historically, but not
Yes.
on TV and popular culture. We don't know those characters. And he really wrote Grandma as a character song. So what we try to say to these kids is like, okay, this is Dad's song about his grandmother. Tell us about yours. So today we pass the microphone around, and each, not each kid, but we try to get as many kids as we could to say one thing that their grandmother does. And we heard, my grandmother treats me how I deserve to be treated. My grandmother cooks for me, takes care of me, goes to the store. She prays when she's tired. We heard that like 3 times. They said she prays when she's tired. And some of them were saying she prays before she goes to sleep, and so there's just such a knowing that a kid has about their grandmother that it's surprising how young they can have really, strong emotional things that they can articulate. And you might have asked these kids another question and you might get 3 volunteers, tell us about you. But they might not want to do it. But you say, tell us about your grandmother. Oh, she helps me go to sleep. She does this. She does that. And I think that would mean more to Dad than any record I could record or anything that I could do that would just say, look, I'm going to sing. He just loved people so much. So
that's beautiful.
To get to sing with the kids, Grandma's Hands, sing Lean on Me with them, then they know that if this grown-up could write a song about their grandmother and they had something to write about and it's validated and it's a book and it's a big famous song, you can write about your grandmother.
It's possible.
And maybe you'll write about more characters and find out that you really love writing, or maybe you'll just write about your family and then you will have your memories honored, and we think all of it is good.
So let me ask you, do you have a story, a special story about your grandma?
My grandmother's name is Gloria. My grandmother taught in LA Unified School District for 25 years. A lot of her work was at a place called McKinley Avenue. So I went to school with my grandmother when she was teaching. Yes. My brother and I got to go to school with her and see her at work. And they, see the children call her Mrs. Johnson, see kids run up to my grandmother, Miss Johnson, can I have a pencil? Can I do this, Miss Johnson? Yes. Oh, sure, sweetie, you can. And then I realized she was dealing with 35 children before she got to us. And then she was helping her sister across the hall so she could go to the restroom. She's watching her 2 classes at the same time, you know, and I really saw my grandmother was an incredibly loving and sweet person, you know, never raised her voice to me, but she also never let me win at Scrabble. You know, I had to earn it. My grandmother cooked, but my grandmother actually had a really close relationship with my brother, who's older than I am.
Okay.
And his relationship with her is probably more like dad's, in the sense
Gotcha.
that it was like, look, little sis, grandma's mine. You're late. And you can hang out while I'm hanging out with grandma as long as you don't get in the way, type of thing.
Okay. Okay.
So, you know, my dad talked about, I got to help grandma walk, you know, or I got to help her out sometimes. And that made him feel really special.
Nice.
And my
Nice.
brother is that same way.
Okay.
But the biggest thing I have to thank my grandmother for, obviously, is my mom, who's exceptional. And my mom is very different from my grandmother. My mom has an earpiece and a trench coat, and she's, you know, strutting with her girlfriends, and she put on her roller skates last weekend.
Okay.
So that's the experience my daughter is having of having a grandmother. And my mother and father really were 2 people that came together to have this business, where mom was doing the publishing day to day and dad was the artist. And you know, it's a beautiful thing that my mom's journey towards wanting to be a business person rather than a teacher, you know, like is common in our family and probably what I would be doing. She said, no, I want to go do business. And yet it comes back full circle to, well, what can, you know, what are we going to really do together? What's our legacy going to be? It's the
And it's
family.
still kind of and it's still in a way teaching, but in your own unique way, because like
Oh,
you're
heck yeah,
spreading.
she's teaching. I said, look at you, Miss Business. You are out here teaching. And she loves it. She loves being a grandmother. My daughter is so proud of her. She's proud of, you know, both her grandmothers. And it's really special to us to start here, because dad was so big on lyrics. Everything he sang, he like gave it his full conviction. I mean, he was a credo type of person. And he had been in the military, you know, so he was like, if I'm going to say this, you know, I stand behind it. So he really meant to talk about his grandmother. He really wanted people to hear it. You know, he wanted her tambourine and his memories of her stomping, you know, on the porch, getting happy, working out her feelings. He wanted that to live on past her. And so we want to be ambassadors for people to say, your grandmother is just as special. You know, you don't have to be a songwriter to stop and say, let me just pause and think about all the things I could think of about my grandmother and just write it down.
Right,
You know,
right.
let me just think about what was my favorite recipe. Because when you're in it, you don't think it's ever going to go anywhere. When you're a kid, you're going to live forever. Grandma is too. And then when you get mature and you say, oh, I don't want to lose this thought. Dad, that's what happened with dad. He came back at 30 something and said, oh, I want to write down everything I remember. So we get the chance to do that with the kids now and say, you're 8 years old. Write down in this grandma's hands book your grandmother's name, your name, what you all are doing together, so that in 10 years, when you go back to your, you know, childhood and you're thinking about life, 20 years, 30 years, you can go back and remember, you know, that you were just a kid who loved their grandmother, whose grandmother, you were grandma's baby, you know, and you'll always be that.
I have a story of a memory of my grandmother. She's passed on. I think she passed away at 96 a few years ago. Yeah, so she used to make these. She's from Alabama, from Union Springs, Alabama. Her name was Mary Woodfall, and she used to make these tea cakes. Oh my God, they were so good. All of my cousins, we used to just love when grandma made these tea cakes. When she put those hands in those tea cakes, we'd be there, right there, eating the bowl. We tore those things up. So, and honoring grandmas, I want to honor my grandmother as well, because she was an amazing woman. And you know, it's only right with this night, with this day. I don't know what it is, day or night, but we are here talking about grandma's hands, and and we just
You know
loving
what?
it.
And it's like, you might not have the recipe for those tea cakes, but just saying, I'm going to just keep the tea cakes thing going in our family. And you look up, and 2 generations from now, people are still making tea cakes because you said that's what our grandmother did. It doesn't have to be the same recipe. It can be updated, but it's just, these are kernels that are irreplaceable. You cannot Google your grandmother. You can't Google that. You can't Siri that. You know what I mean? When you want to reach out for that voice, for that spirit, you got to reach inside. That's really what it's about. And then if you want to feel that, you got to get around some other people, eat some good food, laugh, be nice to each other, you know, whatever you want to do. But it's about saying everybody who's living has a story, and write your story down. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be, you know, promoting something that's a business. You know, you matter. You're alive, you're breathing. You matter just as much as that world leader over there. You know, I think my father really believed that to the core. And I think you have to believe that to write something like Lean on Me. You have to believe that everybody matters, because you can't discriminate against anybody in that song.
When we lost him, it was like, I mean, I know it was different for you guys because that's your dad and your mom's husband. But the music that was being played all on the airways and stuff, the lyrics, and I mean, you just really, if all those lyrics and songs always mattered, but you truly mattered by the way that they were celebrating his artistry and everything that he's meant to music. Did you, growing up, did you understand the level of impact he had as a writer, as a singer? Because I know now you're singing as well. But did you get that understanding early, or was that something that came about later on in your life?
I mean, of course, I listened to Dad's records on vinyl as a child. I just remember putting them on and having a record player in my room, and I understood that was my dad's voice. I thought his music was the most beautiful thing I had ever heard. I thought listening to his music was the most peaceful, calm, sort of comforted. I could feel, you know, probably second to being in my mother's arms or something like that. I mean, it was just so comforting to me as a child. And then, you know, he would like open the door and walk in. Hey, sugar. and inside, I would kind of have to hide that. I would have to sort of keep within that he doesn't want to hear that this is so magical to me. He just wants me to be a kid. Hey, Dad, you know, how are you? Yeah, let's go, you know. But inside, I was like, oh, this is so deep. This is beautiful. This is extraordinary.
At what age would you say? At what age was it when you felt that?
Well, I'll tell you this. When I was 11 years old, I started listening to James Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
I saw this movie I still love to this day called Running on Empty with the late River Phoenix, written by Naomi Foner, whose kids I went to school with, and they're brilliant actors now, Maggie and Jake Gyllenhaal. Their mother wrote this film, and it was a beautiful family story that I just related to. And then there was this Fire and Rain, James Taylor song. And it was the first time that I had heard a song that was sort of folky and thoughtful and kind of had the depth that I had felt listening to my dad's music. And I just remember thinking, I like James Taylor. Who's James Taylor? And you know, at that time, Mom, take me to the CD store. I want to find out. I want to get some James Taylor. And then I just listened to them. And Stevie, you know, Aretha, we always were listening to soul music, but kind of the quieter songwriter stuff I got into around that time. Carly Simon, you know, Joni Mitchell, that kind of stuff. So Dad kind of straddled that, the folky, just play a guitar and sing a poem, people, and then somebody performing with a band where you're talking about Use Me and all that stuff. So he did both. You know, he did both. And then kids at school would say, oh, your dad's the Lean on Me guy. And I would think, well, they haven't been over to my house. You know, we haven't had a play date. How do they know that song? And how do they know my dad? Lule.
Hey.
This is my daughter, Lily. We're talking about Papa. We're talking about Papa's song.
Hey, Lule.
Yeah, this is Lily, but she says call me Lule.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So it is. She's 3.5.
Okay, nice. Now, congratulations and happy early Mother's Day to you.
Thank you.
And we are so excited that you're gonna be blessing City Vineyard on Sunday. I have my tickets. I know it's gonna be an amazing night, amazing day. I have my days and my nights mixed up. It's been a amazing week of
You're
this.
all right. Most shows are at night. So
You
this
know?
is rare. We're doing a daytime, but we really want everybody to feel like, you can just bring the family, because
Yes.
sometimes you have a show where, oh, how would I get somebody to watch the kids? So I would just go take mom to the show, or how are we going to do that? You can just bring everybody. It's at the pier. It has an indoor outdoor vibe, wheelchairs, kids welcome. We have, our top notch band because we don't want to do it any other way, but it's really, let's all get in the room and celebrate not just moms, but grandmas, because
Right.
grandmas don't have their own day. There's grandparents' days in September, but it's a newer thing. It's sort of a newer thing. And it's a beautiful thing, because let me tell you something. You don't have to promote grandmothers. They sell themselves, okay? All you have to do is say the word grandma, and it's like the floodgates open and everybody's feeling comforted and better just
True.
by that.
True.
So that's really what we're here to do, is say, one day Dad was sitting down, as he would say, scratching himself, and something crossed his mind, and he was thinking about his grandmother's hands, and it was like he couldn't not write that song, and that's why we have that song.
It's amazing
So
how one person's experience, who's creative and who can write, can just change the world, with just their experience. It's like, as creators, we are like, just amazing. It's just amazing how that can
yes,
happen.
because we're not more special than anybody else. We don't feel any deeper than anybody else. We're not more sad. We're not more angry. We just express and articulate. But everybody is going through life just the same. People feel sad and might not ever write anything or
Exactly.
sing a note, and I think Dad believed that. He said he was a conduit, that artists are conduits, that something's being channeled through you for public use, like a public service. And your job is to make your records good, do your shows well, so that other people can feel their feelings.
That
Let's
I love
fight.
that. I love that. And the show
Yeah.
Sunday is sold out. So congratulations on that. The tickets are they saying it's sold out. I'm glad I got mine early, because it's gonna be an amazing night, amazing day with Allison Williams hosting. The legendary Miss Valerie
Yes.
Simpson will be a special guest. How exciting is that, to be sharing the stage with another legend? What are you most excited about on this brunch?
I'm most excited about being with my mother and my daughter. That's so special to me. And to loop in my great grandmother because of Dad's music, I feel so blessed. And I think, well, I'm not alone in that. There's plenty of people that are spending their Mother's Day with great grandma, auntie, baby girl. Families are multi-generational. That's the best part about it for me. And the fact that, yeah, it's sold out, but because of the location, it's Pier 26. It's like one of those things you can incorporate into your plans. Well, let's go over here, and then we'll pass by the show. We'll be able to hear Kori, even if we don't go in, have a seat. We'll be able to hear her, take a little walk, look at the water, take our picture, and then go back to the rest of our day. So I encourage people, if you did want to come, please, stop by and see the vibe, because sold out is kind of a nighttime word, but
But
for
it's
this,
still but it's still sold out. That's
it's
still
sold
something.
out. Yeah, but
It's still, that's big, because it's a lot of shows. I mean, it speaks to the day, the event. It speaks to the whole promo that you've been, the hard work that you put into making this event happen. So because it's something to be grateful and thankful for. I'm sure you are. And I'm just thankful I'll be in the building to share the experience and report back to my people how amazing it was, because I will be in the
yeah.
building.
Yeah. And, people say to me sometimes, oh, how is it? Do you think how is it dealing with being in your dad's shadow and this kind of thing? And, for me, my mother is in Dad's shadow in a way, because she does the work. she does a lot of work, and most people don't know who mom is. A lot of people don't know who dad is, you know. So of course, for me, it's a great way to shine a light on the fact that dad, you know, created the material. He's the artist, but the music that you're continuing to hear, it's being supported and you know, protected by my mother and our
Yeah.
family.
It's a team
So
behind, and your mom's is your mom is the team that's holding it all together and making sure that this music is in movies and commercials, and making sure that people aren't just sampling it for, you know, taking it out of its original context. Is keeping it, you know, nice and meaningful. So we salute your mom for doing that, and because the music is beautiful. You have a beautiful catalog of music to truly like continue to just perform. Like it's gotta be when you do your set, because I know you reimagine a lot of his songs, your dad's songs, in your show. It has to be like which one do I do today? I mean, like, because you have so many songs to choose from, and then you also incorporate your own songs as well, right?
yes, and you know, I'll tell you what I do as a parent. I cannot curate an experience for my daughter, so I only play dad's music on shuffle for her. You know, and
Okay.
if I have to skip something here or there because maybe the topic is more adult, you know, that's really, really rare. But yeah, I've just played on shuffle. So now that she's here, I absorb dad's music as just all of it at once. But you know, the beginning of his career, he was by himself, and his first foray into the music business, just kind of proving that he was this writer and this singer and this musician. And then by the end, he had a family. My brother and I were young. He, you know, started this partnership with my mom. And so he's writing about that. He's writing about family and adult love and commitment. So I'm very proud to be able to look at his journey as an artist and be proud, like any kid would be proud to look at their parent and say, I'm proud of who my father is, I'm proud of who my mother is, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I would point right back at somebody else and say, hey, you know, oh, your dad does this, what is that like? What was it like growing up, you know, with that? What did you learn from that? How was that? You know, were you knew you weren't going to be a doctor by the time you were 10? What were you going to
Hmm.
do? You know, everybody has that story. And so you know, for us, it's really about that. And since none of us could meet my great grandmother, who the song is about, I never got to see those hands. I never got to just hug her and kiss her on the cheek, you know, just things you want to do. So anything we do with the book or this story or this song is really, for us as a family, it's very personal. It's just,
Yeah.
that's how we talk to great grandma. That's how we
Paying
talk to
homage.
grandma. That's how
Paying
we talk
homage.
to dad. Yeah, that's what it's about.
Are there any other songs? I'm sure there are that have that same type of, that maybe getting that same type of adaption, like any other, like Lean on Me, like Lovely Day. Like will you all be expanding the books with
Love,
other song
yeah.
titles possibly in the future?
Lo- Lovely Day is flawless technology. I mean, if Lovely Day doesn't help you, you may need to go to the hospital, because
Yes.
it's like one of the fastest ways to turn your mood around or start your day, you know, in the right way. Um, and yes, there are some more songs we'd like to do for books. There's a song Dad wrote called Sometimes a Song, which is a deep
Hmm.
album cut about sometimes a song is funky, sometimes a song is sad, sometimes a song is, and it's grooving. I mean, it's like this cold blooded groove. And that one is cool to me because you can see a child saying that. Sometimes the song is sad, sometimes the
Hmm.
song is happy, sometimes the song is fun. And just that was something unique about him, is he was like this old sailor and this 9-year-old boy at the same time, kind of
Okay.
always, you know. And so sometimes a song is funky is um one I would like to do. And then Lean on Me has been done, Lovely Day has been done. But we have there's songs like Family Table, you know, that's another
Okay.
family homage song. Let Us Love. Dad loved to write about love and family. That was just something that inspired him. And you know, so it really gives us a chance to create community, because he
Right.
was so private. He was so private. He was like a mystic sage that, you know, had these gifts, and then he went off to go be with the land or something. And my
Right.
mother, you
Right.
know,
Right.
he really was very mysterious. He knew that. He knew his gift was mysterious. And it was important, I think, for his preservation as an artist, for him to have a lot of space to be himself, but he wanted to connect through the music. So
So
our
do you feel
job,
like, you're keeping his music alive? Like, how are you as an artist? Like, well, how about yourself? Like, what inspires you as an artist to do what you do as an artist, to share with the people?
well, Dad is my inspiration because he introduced the idea that you could write songs. You
Okay.
know, everybody listens to music and loves music, but I knew from a very young age that songwriting was a very valuable thing. Both my parents treated it like it mattered. And so the fact that I enjoyed it or wanted to do it, I always felt like it was a very noble purpose. Whereas
Right.
some kids, most kids probably have to really convince their parents, you know, that past a certain age, writing songs is a good idea or worth your
Right.
time or a good vocation, you know. But when you have a family that's in the music business and understands that people really do, there's a business around this, and you can be a writer, producer, engineer, you know, it's like making films. You can be a production assistant, you can be in craft services, you can work. And so my parents always were basically like, if you want to do something in music, you can have a job, like you will be able to work. And so many kids have to
Don't
really
have that.
fight for that. And whether it's at college age, when they're trying to find money to go to school, you
Right.
know, or graduate school or whatever it is. But usually kids are allowed to play and sing and be creative, you know. So that's one of the things that's good about this age, is maybe Dad was able to write so many songs because he preserved that child within. And I don't know what that is. It's a mystery to me, but there's just some instinct we have that the way to nurture future people that could be like him or benefit from his music is to start with young people.
Okay.
And then, you know, there's also things we get to do with professionals where we can provide, you know, a scholarship or encouragement of a nod to somebody who's already has a career, already has their own family, and, you know, but they just need like a tether to something that's been in the music business longer, so that they don't have the wannabe thing on them, or just, you know, like we want, you know, it's like, this is for real. You
Right.
know, music is for real. It's worth it. It's a much better use. That's a much better use of your time to sit down with a pen and a piece of paper as a person who can't write, doesn't think they're good at it, and has no idea what to do, and sit there for an hour, than it is to, like, you know, catch up with the latest thing that doesn't really affect you, you
Exactly.
know. And so it's like, one of the things I think Dad stood up for, as poets and writers do, is take time for yourself. You know, there's sit in the hot bath and have serenity. There's take a walk and just look at your neighborhood. Take time for yourself to write your memories down, because you are alive and you matter. It's just like that simple. And that's
Did
why
you
we
ever?
have letters of people writing during wars, and love letters written across all kinds of stuff, because people stopped and they wrote. You know,
That's beautiful. Did you
you
ever
don't
get
have
a
to
chance
write
to
nothing
speak to your?
long.
Did you ever get a chance to
Was
speak to your dad about his influences and of who inspired him
it was just, it was just something he was forthcoming about, you know.
Gotcha.
If something came up, he would look up. He always knew what was coming on TV, so he'd be like, oh, you know, the Jackie Wilson story's coming on Thursday, I got that set to tape. Then we're going to watch this on Bill Russell, and then we're going to watch this on the submarines. And so he was really interested in world history, and curious about other cultures. And as someone who had been a sailor and a civilian, you know, when 9/11 happened, I remember him and his buddies pacing around, or he was pacing around the kitchen like he had to report somewhere, you know. So that they were on the phone with each other, like, I feel like I need to go to the base, And then they were like, no, brother, you so old. They don't want you to, they don't need you right now. And so like those are things that you can carry with you. He was always the sailor with a sense of civic responsibility. Even
Okay.
after he went in the music business, which really doesn't focus on that, he never stopped being that man who read the newspaper and knew what was going on. Stories that are not fun about horrible things happening all over the world. He felt a responsibility to know. And mom is the same way. And I think that person who felt loved by their grandmother and their community, he never lost that. And in the song, he's connecting the child, to he's saying, I'm going to love you my whole life long, grandma. Like if I get to heaven, I'll look for grandma's hands. Like I'm going to be I'm going to be looking for that lady. I'm going to see her again. We're not finished. I have a sense of direction. It's get to heaven because grandma's there. You know what I mean? There's some
Yeah.
depth in there. There's some depth
Yeah,
in
and
there.
it's beautiful as a family that you have that to really look towards and live by and just pay homage to on a regular basis that you do. You know what I'm saying? Because not everyone's family gets a person in the family to keep the legacy alive. And the way you're doing it, like you're the first person I've spoken to who's a part of this type of legacy that just continues to talk about. Like it's really, you can tell it's like it's something that you're really proud of, and not you don't take it for granted. You know what I'm saying? So it's really beautiful to hear you talk about the experiences of your dad and his music, and it's refreshing because his music spoke to change. It can make you change your mood if you're sad, if you're not happy or whatever, and to see that that's also in his daughter, that's just amazing because it doesn't. I mean, it happens, but you don't get to have these type of exchanges with people that are willing to talk about it. You know what I'm saying? So thank you for being so open and sharing with that message because it's very, very important.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I mean, for me, anytime I sing Grandma's Hands Clapped in Church on Sunday morning, I feel like I get to meet her,
Yeah.
because I didn't get to do that. So, we hope that this book can kind of be at the forefront of putting attention on the generational connection. And this is already happening. People already have this going on, but the spotlight is not shined on them. The
Right.
spotlight is shined on this person because they have this fancy thing, or they just made another billion, or they did this, and people are living these beautiful lives every day, and writers are just pause and say, oh, isn't that beautiful? Yes, it
Yeah.
is. Isn't it?
We don't get to
And
hear
then
the
you just
why. We don't get to hear the
what and
why. The why isn't celebrated as much as the achievement itself.
yes, and then
So
every time you drop the needle on the record, you're in that beauty and it's the present. So my dad sang that song when he was younger than I am now, I think.
mm,
Yeah, he's younger
mhm.
than I am now when he sang that song. So I'm like, hey, little brother, you doing all right? I'd make jokes
Yeah,
now to myself because it's a trip. But yeah, that we really hope this is the beginning of a conversation that we
it
really
is.
do want to come back around every year, not to sell this book, but to
Keep
come
it alive.
around, keep it alive, and remember, hey, we're the ones that are going to give you an occasion to talk about your grandma, because you don't want to go a whole year without doing that. You
No, no,
really don't,
it's really dope that's what you're doing because I mean you're making me want to talk about my grandma.
You better write it down when we get off this
Yes.
call. You don't have to show it to anybody. And this is the important thing, is distinguishing being a performer and a public figure and famous from being a writer. A writer has to validate themselves privately first. So how long was he just sitting there with grandma's hands in his head before he got to the record company, before he got to record it? It was just as valuable when it was just in his body,
Yeah.
so that's what I mean, I don't want to call it a writer's project, but it's really, we hope to encourage people to speak their own stories,
No,
because you have so much
it's dope.
depth. You have so much more than people are willing to listen to, and people even have time to listen to. But listen to yourself, and then share that with somebody, and they will listen to that.
It's
So,
amazing that you're sharing these tips, you know what I'm saying, as from being with the man that wrote these songs. And this is the message that you have gotten from him and being around him, and now you're sharing that with the world. I mean, that is just, I mean, you don't get that type of information, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people choose to talk about people in that in different way. They talk about the achievements more so than how you're explaining how your dad was. So that's really beautiful. I mean, it's very unique. It's a unique
well,
way
we can put it
of
this way.
expressing it.
I mean, how many people had a grandmother who did the exact same things that Dad's grandmother did in his generation? And he was one guy that got to say that story, and be able to express it. But there were so many little boys whose grandmothers played the tambourine, I'm sure, and clapped in
Mm-hmm.
church, and then he gets more specific about why his grandmother was special to him. But, it's just, Dad was a big advocate for humanity. He used that word a lot. He said the humanity of this, the humanity of that. We would watch programs on people with special needs, different abilities. Can you believe this woman has no legs below her pelvis, and she's taking care of her husband, her ex-husband, her mom, and her kids? Like, look at this woman. This is a tough lady, Kori. Like, that's the kind of stuff we would do just hanging out.
Yeah.
He really valued people, and for their averageness, just for
Mm.
being human. And I think the word average and human kind of get mixed up, where you have to distinguish yourself to be human, and those are two different things. You're born human, you're
Right.
born grandma's baby. You don't have to do anything, and that's, it's just an occasion to do that. And I say all this because I'm a big Bill Withers nerd, obviously. But, that's not what we do on the stage. On the stage, we, 1, 2, 3, 4, and go. And
Oh
we
yeah,
just doing
I've
music.
seen footage, I've seen clips of your performance, and you are an amazing performer too. So just
Yeah,
hearing
yeah.
the message behind the performer and how much respect and honor that you give your dad, it's just really beautiful. Like we should do this for Father's Day as well. I mean, like
Yeah.
'cause this is like, I mean, because this is I came into this interview thinking, would it be a Mother's Day weekend and celebrating moms, but you really shine light on your dad in a way that he really needs to be the focus for Father's Day, because
Well,
he's
and
just that amazing.
did she go? He wrote a song called I Am My Father's Son, when
Mm,
Bill Russell was getting his statue dedicated in Boston. Okay, Bill Russell, he asked, he wanted to honor his father. And so Dad wrote this song, and he was in his late 70s when he got around to writing about his father, who died at 12. And
mm.
that's not a famous song yet. Of course, we will make it into a book. You want to read a story? So, yeah, I mean, the father thing. And you know what? It takes time to get the maturity to talk about your elders, because you love them and miss them. It's not, I haven't written about my grandmother yet. It's just too painful. And she's been
Right.
gone since 2015. So I thank you for this time, and I hope people come and get to commune with Dad's music. That's what we try to have, the right musicians, so that
Right.
people who are familiar with Dad's music can get that essence while they're hearing it. And it's just a meditative, healing, good time thing,
Well, we're looking forward to it. I will be there with my mom and my brother, and we will be turning up with you guys. Looking forward to meeting you in person and your mom. And yeah, so thank you so much for blessing us on the Solar Streets. Nothing but continued blessings for you, and I'm looking forward to. I will be supporting Ain't No Sunshine and any other music that you will be releasing. We'll definitely get some love on the Solar Streets. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and
Oh,
happy
thank you
early
so
Mother's
much.
Day to your mom as well.
Yes, and to your mom, God bless. Thank you
Yes.
for the time.
Until
All right, friend.
until Sunday.
Be well.
Be well. Uh,
Yay.
I've got to get this. This. Oh, here we go.
Lule. Hey there.